Hey, everybody. Well, we are here again with another episode of It's TTT, y'all. It's time to talk. And tonight, I'm just happy and honored that I have two of my friends here, and we are going to talk about the Great Masquerader. And for those of you who know what the Great Masquerader is, it's lupus. And this is a definition from lupus from the website. What is a lupus? Lupus is a chronic, long-term disease that can cause inflammation and pain in any part of your body. It's an autoimmune disease, which means that your immune system, the body system that usually fights infections, attacks healthy tissue instead. Lupus commonly affects your skin, joints, internal organs like your kidneys and heart. Because lupus affects many parts of the body, it can cause a list of different symptoms. And that's from the lupus.org. Lupus.org is where I found that definition. And it's a website that one of the guests will probably talk about later. And this show I want to dedicate to a person who was close to one of the guests tonight, and also another person who I knew who passed away of lupus, Norma Jean Scott. And she's a good friend of, she's a mother of a good friend of mine, Marcia Scott. She passed away in August of 1998 of lupus. And then Terry Covington, a friend of, sister of one of the guests, passed away in April of 1996. So we are dedicating this show to them. And if you know anyone who has lupus who you think would, enjoy the show, or also get information from the show, or would have questions that they would like to ask these two people. One has been dealing with lupus for 34 years, and one, I think it's a little over 10 years if I didn't mess up, but she'll tell us right when it's time. And also, if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments section, and I'll try to get them to everyone here. Now, two things that I get on my soapbox about is a census, and y'all, they moved the deadline up to September, the end of September. So you have to get your census information in, or you'll have someone knocking on your door, which is not good to have in this time of COVID. So complete your census. I think last week it was at 80-something%. We can do better. We can do better. We need the amenities. We need the lines drawn as they should be based on who lives where. The census does a number of things, and I hope next week we'll be able to have someone on to talk about it even more, to tell you exactly what the census does for you, what being counted means. And the other is voter registration. Okay, I need y'all to register to vote. Okay. I can tell you who to vote for because I'm not a nonprofit. I am partisan somewhat, but it's not about Democrat or Republican necessarily. It's about character. And all I say is one side has character and one side has demonstrated that they don't now. The one that's there now has demonstrated the lack of character. So therefore, I'm telling you who to vote for. But it's not only the presidential elections. There are many elections. The judges, I just heard on the appeals, if I'm stating it right, on the appeals court, there are in Texas, there are 7 seats. They're all Republican, and there is one African-American woman now that's running to at least get one Democratic seat. So there are a lot of things to vote for, and we'll talk the end of September about where you can go to print out your ballot. So as you hear about certain people, you can mark them on your ballot that that's who you want to vote for, etc. So this is a critical time. So, and then also up in that corner, let's see what make my finger do what it's supposed to do. What's wrong with my finger? You see that QR code? You can scan that QR code up in the corner of the picture, and it will take you to the form to complete your voter registration, change your address, and it'll continue to take you to show you where you vote, etc. But as I said, tonight I'm talking to some friends on a serious subject, and we're talking about lupus. And tonight my guests are two beautiful women who I'm honored to have as my sister friends, my besties, my prayer warriors. One's my shopping partner, one's my bead making partner, jewelry making partner. And I love them to death. And even though I don't talk on the phone that much, I can call them whenever I want to. But I'm going to introduce them one at a time because that's just how important they are to me. Okay. So first, I'm going to introduce you to Cheryl Gaffigan. And I'm sorry, y'all, my mouse is crazy because I got surgery. Hey, Cheryl.
Hey.
What's going on, Cheryl?
Not much, Glow. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Now that you here, look.
I know, right? When we get together, we can't cut up.
Right.
Do the right thing now.
Yeah, we can. We can be all right. Jesus understand. He has a sense of humor.
Okay.
So thank you for coming on and being a part of this that we're doing here. But I always get people to say, okay, what is your first recollection of meeting me? And be nice. No.
Okay. Well, it was at church.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was at church. So that's a good thing.
That's a good answer. Yeah.
That's a good answer. Yeah. Church. Yeah. Church is a good answer. We couldn't do anything wrong there.
We didn't do anything wrong. We were good.
Just worshiping. Yes. I remember meeting at church.
Okay. And so tell us a little bit about Cheryl Gaffigan. Where are you from? Where do you live now? What are you doing? And all that good stuff.
Well, I'm from San Antonio, Texas, but I lived the majority of my life in Sacramento, California. And now I'm living in Corpus Christi, Texas. So that's where I am now. I'm married for, oh gosh, we've been together for 46 years in October. And we have two sons. One's 41 and one's 36. And they live in one lives in Sacramento and the other one lives in Oakland. And I'm here in Corpus, and I'm, right now, I was very active in church when church was church, even though I am the church. But, I used to do a lot of things. And then I also hooked up with a friend of mine named Evelyn Cooper, and she does a lot of fashions. Yes. So I'm in the fashion show, or either I'm putting somebody together, or, so we're kind of waiting for that time to come along again. And, that's what I do. I make jewelry. I make faces on T-shirts. I have on one now, but we'll see later. And, I just
advertise. It's okay.
Huh?
I say you can stand up and advertise. It's okay.
Oh, okay. There she is. Her smiling face. Yeah. And then I usually do drawings on jeans and just whatever the flow is flowing at that time, when you have that creative energy.
Yeah. And you have a lot of it. She's really good, y'all. So, we can do your content because she's so good, but she won't put her stuff out there like she needs to.
Right.
But we can get some contact information if you want her to make something for you.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. My next guest is, let's see, I've known her for a good little while. This is a shopping one. She liked to go shopping, even though we haven't been shopping in a long time. Nancy Covington-Beal. Okay, what's your first recollection of where we came together?
Like Cheryl, it was at church.
Oh, that's good answers, guys. I got Yay!
You guys joined the church. You and Robert were new to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys joined the church, and I was your foundational instructions teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the two of you guys walked in, I was like, oh boy. And that was when was that?
2000, probably.
2000, yeah. So it's been about 20 years now.
Mm-hmm. Been hanging around 20 years.
Depending on which day of the week that your husband tells the story, there's always a different narrative. So we've known each other for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And I taught foundational instructions were for 17 weeks. So we didn't get to know each other then, but you and I then became prayer partners.
Yep.
And that's when we got to know each other. And then you left me.
I know. I left you and I came back, and then you followed me wherever I went, and then I left.
Yes, you have always been my at least once a year vacation spot. Wherever you go, I come and visit.
Yeah, except this is the first year with this crazy.
Yeah, this is the first year in 20 years that I have not came to visit you. Yeah, at least once a year. So you have been. How many times have you been back to Chicago now? At least 3?
3, I think. Yeah. 3.
Yeah.
Oak Park, downtown, and Oak Park. Okay.
Yep. So I have known you for that amount of time, and we became best sister girls.
Yeah.
Through being prayer partners, we've gone through some books together where we've held each other accountable. And we have just grown in Christ together on our spiritual journey. So that's how we came to know each other.
Okay.
And of course, shopping.
Of course, shopping. So where are you from? Where are you now?
Born and raised in Chi-Town my whole entire life. Yes. I live in the western suburbs, but I am a West Side. That's where I grew up, in the inner city.
Okay, I should get Jarius in here to say West Side. Like to say,
you may not be able to get Jarius to leave.
I know, believe me, I tried it once. That's so true. So I'm gonna bring Cheryl back, and we're gonna talk about our subject tonight, which is lupus. So now there is such a thing as, let's see how.
Hey, Cheryl.
Hey, girl. Hey, Nancy.
Look, I'm trying to get this stuff going right, so y'all just bear with me, okay? Okay, that's good. We'll do it like that. Lupus. What's a lupus flare, and what was your first one? Anybody can go first, and
you go first, Nancy.
Well, a lupus flare. Well, I think first we should talk about the different types of lupus.
Okay,
There are 4 different types. There is SLE, which is systemic lupus erythematosus. It is the disease that actually attacks every organ of your body, every tissue. There is nothing that it cannot touch. Mm-hmm. The second one is discoid or cutaneous lupus, and that is the one that affects the skin only. Mm-hmm. And let me back up, because the SLE actually affect women more than men, 9-to-1 ratio. And it is more people of color that get it than people who are, white or Caucasian. So 9-to-1 female, and then people of color get it more than Caucasian people. The cutaneous one it was called discoid lupus for a long time. And that one affects the skin. It's all topical. And some people that I know that has it, that's famous, is actually Seal. The singer Seal, he actually has it. And what it does is it disfigures the skin. And then there's a drug-induced lupus, which is actually, there are 2 drugs that you can take for your heart, and then one that they give for your lungs that actually can cause lupus, but eventually it goes away. And then the 4th type is called neonatal lupus. And what that, usually is that is when a mother who is pregnant and she has lupus, she can pass it on to the unborn child, which eventually within the first year, the child grows out of it. So those are the 4 different types.
Let me interrupt. I'm sorry. I didn't tell y'all might need to get some paper to take notes, because both of these people teach. Okay. So you might want to get some paper if you need some notes, because both of them teach, and I can't type it in there fast enough. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, and so to answer the question, what is a lupus flare? A flare is when your lupus becomes active. Lupus is basically usually dormant. You are born with it, and usually women don't know about it until they come into their womanhood, when they have their first menstrual cycle. That's when it can first be detected. But more often than not, most of us find out usually after a pregnancy or something like that, or as we age and progress. It becomes easily more detectable then. Um, and so for me personally, I found out, as Gloria said in the beginning, I lost my sister to this disease. My sister and I both were diagnosed in our 20s. She was around 22 and I was around 24. My sister fought for 10 brave years and she passed at 32. And for me, it was devastating because I think that anyone who actually understand what survivor's guilt is, I lived with that for a very long time because she got sick on a Thursday and passed on a Saturday. That's just how fast it happened. She was very healthy until the lupus flares just got to be too much for her. And it attacked everything from her kidneys to her lungs to her heart. It infected her blood. It systematically broke down every system and every organ of her body until your body can't fight anymore. So basically what lupus does is it's a war against itself. Your body is creating something within itself, and then your body is trying to fight its own self off. So that is when you become active, and basically all they can do is treat the symptoms when they occur, because this disease has no cure. And once you're diagnosed, you will have it for the rest of your life.
Right. Right.
All right, Cheryl, what did I leave out?
Well, no, it's nothing you left out, but I know for me, when I was younger, like 18 or so, that every time I would go to a doctor, they would say, "Oh, you have low red blood cells." But they said, "Oh, take iron." And that was it. Then I had my
Yeah.
two boys. And then I still wasn't diagnosed. I didn't get diagnosed until 50.
Wow.
And so and that was only because it was one doctor that cared, and he just sent me to different places, different doctors, because he kept saying, "I know it's something wrong." And I don't know, for those that know Dr. Pollard here in Corpus Christi, Texas, she's really a great blood doctor. I went to her. That was my last result. And I went to her and she took a test and she had told me, in 7 days, I'm going to let you know what you have. And you might have MS, you might have all these different diseases. And so leukemia, all kinds. And so in the 7th day that she found out that I always had lupus, always. And so, um, but I had to go through a lot of pain and a lot of doctor's visits. I kept going to doctors and saying, "Look, I'm in pain. I don't know what's going on." And they would say, "Oh, here's some tramadol. Oh, here's some this. Oh, here's some that."
Wow.
And it was like, at first I felt like nobody really cared. But then this one particular doctor said, "No, it's something wrong with you, but we just don't know what." And so a lot of times I believe women are walking around and they're feeling, having aches in their bones and they're not feeling well. And they'll say it's fibromyalgia and say all these other things, but I don't know. Lupus tests must be expensive because they don't want to run it. I don't know what it is. I mean, really, every time, and so I was just blessed to have good doctors, and that's how.
But that's the one thing that I will say is that a lot of times, because they don't know, because
They
as
don't know.
Gloria said, I shared this with her, it's called the Great Masquerader, because it masks so many different things that it could potentially be.
Right.
And they have you feeling like you're a hypochondriac because you know that there's something going on, but you're not able to actually explain what it is. And for me, my sister was diagnosed first, and we're talking about in the 80s then. And I was told by every doctor that I saw that it was impossible for me to have that disease because she had it, that it was not hereditary.
Oh, wow.
That's what I was told. Now, when you go back and you research the fact about Lupus Foundation of America, it wasn't founded until 77. So I'm talking about within the first 10 years, they didn't know anything. And doctors still to this day, there's a lot that they do know, but there's still so much unknown and unrest around this disease that they use you more as a guinea pig, and you feel more like a science project where you're getting poked and prodded all the time because no one knows how to treat this actual disease. Because even though it's lupus and you can have 10 different people with SLE, we can all be impacted very differently because it's an individualized disease.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so for me, being that they, discovered it at 50, lupus was already attacking my kidney. So when they found out at the age of 50, I was probably, kidney disease was probably like 2 or 3, and then as life goes on, here I am today.
Yeah. And it progressed to where you're on dialysis now, right?
I'm on dialysis now, right? I just started dialysis about 4 weeks ago, and it's not a bad thing.
We prayed it away for years.
Yes. Oh God, yeah. Every time I would go to the doctor, they would say, we'll let you go. We'll let you go. But finally, with this, COVID and everything, he was like, no, let's not play, because he never wanted me to end up. A lot of people end up in the hospital.
Right.
And then they get on dialysis. I walked in. Praise God for that. I feel blessed because I, walked in and they put me on dialysis. So it's been about maybe a month and a week. And I had all these preconceived notions of what it was like and everything. It's not bad at all. It really is.
I told you that. My mom is a dialysis nurse.
Oh, you should have told me that.
My mom is a dialysis nurse. She's been a nurse for 44 decades.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been on it for, and it's hasn't, I still, walk 2 miles every day, but then on the days that I'm off, I try to do 3 to 4 miles. So I'm still as active, and, but when it's time to rest, I do rest.
Now let's talk about this the food thing, because Lord, I don't. Okay, so the joke is that after Norma Jean Scott died, and then I met Nancy, and then later on in life I met Cheryl. I'm like, Lord, why are you having me meet all the people that got lupus? Are you trying to tell me something? And I went through a period where I thought I had it. And I was having, look, man, I really need to know how you check for lupus, because God ain't put all these people in my life for nothing that got lupus. And I lost a friend, and these 2 coming up, and I need to know. And I forgot what was going on, and I just knew I had lupus. But Lord, thank praise I didn't.
Yeah.
That's one club I don't want to join. I'm thankful. And then got the question. I was going to ask them, and I can't remember what it was. But
test for lupus, I can tell you there are 2. There are 2.
Okay, tell us what they are.
Something that's called ANA6, which is a panel. It's a series of tests that they do. ANA6. If you don't remember anything, remember these 2 words: ANA6, and then there's the second test that'll confirm it is a double-stranded DNA. Those 2 tests are tests that they give to actually make sure that they confirm that you have lupus.
Okay.
So ANA6 and double-stranded DNA.
ANA6 and double-stranded DNA. Look, I might be able to write that in the comments.
Well, for me, I remembered, and this was out of all the procedures, this one was they went into my bone marrow and took the marrow out.
Yep.
And that's how they discovered.
That's the double-stranded DNA.
Yes.
Okay.
It was horrible.
Yep.
It just was a procedure. They can't put you under, they can't do anything because it would mess up the marrow in your body.
Yep.
And so they actually got a hammer and looked like a nail and went in there and I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that's interesting because I used to volunteer for the bone marrow donor program, and something that y'all, I think Nancy said earlier, that when there are bone marrow transplants, it has to be race specific, and you have to match perfect antigens, and that's why when anybody needs a bone marrow transplant, they always have to have drives because we are underrepresented in that in that transplant. But what I'm hearing you say relative to that, how they got you a marrow, because the other question is, they didn't say that a bone marrow transplant for you would help?
No one ever talked to me about that. No, they never talked to me about that. They just went in to find out, was it lupus, and that was one of the tests that they did.
That's interesting.
And that might have been, Cheryl, to see whether or not it was in your bones, because double-stranded DNA is usually a blood test that they do. And because you were, as you said, you were 50,
right?
That's probably, and they had already been worried about your kidneys, and you had these other ailments, and because of your age, that's probably the reason that they went there with you. My double-stranded DNA is usually a blood test. And it is specifically for that. So that may have been something different that they were looking for. They were actually possibly looking for it in your bones.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I know not to have a double strand.
That's right. You don't want to go to that. No, you don't. But they do give you something afterwards.
Oh, what? Something to make you feel better?
Something to make you feel a lot better.
Oh. They try to mood you up, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nancy and I were talking, and something she said that was kind of an aha to me. I know both of y'all eat so well, and I don't. I'm doing better, but I don't. But she said something that was just very critical, knowing that she has lupus. One of the things she eats to keep her body prepared for when the flare comes. And I thought about that. I thought that's interesting, because you prepare for it, because if your body is not prepared, it could be much more horrific. So both of you, explain your eating habits. Cheryl, go first. What's your eating?
Well, for me, my husband and I, we stopped eating red meats 40-some years ago. And so we only eat fish and chicken. Okay. And so for me right now, I'm on a renal diet. And that's for the kidney, more or less. And so I don't eat nuts, I don't eat potatoes, I don't eat tomatoes. I can eat a lot of meat, turkey, but you can't have that packaged turkey stuff. You have to have the sliced turkey. Nothing with preservatives. And less preservatives for me now, since I'm on the renal diet. And so, a lot of green vegetables, but I can't have a lot of spinach, but I can have a lot of cabbage. It's just really, the list looks like, greens are good, but they have something in it that, like I'm on this kick. Well, last couple of weeks I was on a cherry kick. I had cherries every night. Now I'm on mango every night. And mango is good for the kidney. It helps, digest and stuff. So, before I really eat a lot of stuff, I look and see what's good for me.
Yeah.
So, that's what
and Nancy, go ahead and talk about your lack of eating.
Stop it.
And I just say that because I'm not as disciplined as y'all are. So, but I know it has, I call y'all the poster children for lupus, because it has preserved your body and helped you in this battle that you're in.
Yeah. Well, I have been a vegetarian for over 3 decades. And the last 5 years, I've been a straight vegan. And I became a vegetarian. It was really quite by accident. My first lupus flare was an acute pancreatitis attack. That's the organ that my lupus attacked. And for 6 months, I couldn't eat anything but bland rice and bland potatoes. I couldn't eat anything else. And after the flare was over with and I had come back down and back in remission, the disease was dormant again. I tried to go back to eating, meat and things like that, but it was really painful. So I said, okay, we're going to just give this up. And I really didn't miss it, to be totally honest, because I didn't eat a lot of meat anyway. And so I just learned how to eat better. And then I found that by eating healthier, it kept my body healthier. And I truly, as Gloria said earlier, I am one of those ones who believe what it is that you put in your body is what you get out of it. So because we are constantly waging war, our body is, and we have no control over it. I believe in fueling it for and getting ready. It's always in prep mode for whenever the flare is going to come, because it's not a matter of if, it's always a matter of when. And you don't know how or how long, or you just have no idea. So for me, I'm always what I consider to be in training. I'm a gladiator. That's what I call. I'm God's gladiator, girl. I tell you, my faith, between my faith and just God just giving me the wherewithal to continue on this journey. As I said, it's been more than 3 decades for me. And I have my sister. She's always right up here on my shoulder pushing. I'm pushing for both of us because, as I said, I've always lived in the shadow of my sister's death. And so does the rest of my family. Because my mom, really, I mean, no one should ever have to bury a child. And it came so sudden. I just took a vow. I promised my mother she would not lose me too. So I'm making sure that I hold on to that promise. And I fight for not only my sister, but for my entire family. Because my mother was heartbroken, and I just don't want her to be ever heartbroken again.
And speaking of your siblings, have your siblings and children and everyone been tested? And is it anyone?
Yes, everyone. I have 2 other siblings, and they both carry the recessive trait. All of my children, I have 3 children, and they carry the recessive trait. And so what that basically means is both of my parents had the recessive trait. Out of 4 kids, 2 of us, the disease fell dominant. The other 2, it didn't, but they do carry the recessive trait. So every child that is being born into my family has a potential for catching this disease. It's just like any other disease. Anytime you get a recessive trait carrier and you have another recessive trait carrier and they start to have children, the odds increase of the disease, the actual disease of what it is that trait carrier is carrying will fall dominant in their children. So I've been blessed that none of my children have it. And I do have 1 granddaughter, and she's been tested, and so far she doesn't have it. But everyone has super sensitive skin, which is another one of those things that we have to be cautious of, is our skin. Doesn't matter if it's 20 below outside or if it's 110, wear sunscreen, because that is the only thing. It doesn't matter how light you are, how dark you are. That is a protective agent against the sun, because the sun, believe it or not, we love the vitamin D, but for us, it's a trigger for the disease.
Wow. Oh, okay. Cheryl, what about your family?
Yeah, well, I haven't had no one has ever tested or anything. My hard-headed boys, I don't think there's nothing wrong with them, but I do have a grandson, and I'm just listening to Nancy, and that would be on the agenda tomorrow to see if their family my son can go and get him tested. Yeah. Because I never thought about it. Like for me, I don't know where it came from. I don't know a lot about my father's family, so it could have came from his family.
Mhm.
And my mother said nobody, she's never heard of anybody with lupus. And so I don't know how I kind of, got it. I have no idea.
But
Because
see,
that's
that
the first
is
thing.
what is the greatest deception about it, is that a lot of times people die from heart attacks, they die from other things, but the precursor to it could have been the lupus, and they were never diagnosed.
Yeah.
So you had to have had it on both
Had
sides
somebody.
of
Yeah.
your
Right.
genes, on both
Yeah.
sides of your parents, because one parent cannot just give you the
Carry.
disease. It's something that both of your parents carried, and it can skip generations, but then you can have, like, none of my, as far as I know, none of my mother's first cousins or anyone like that I know of has the disease, but here 2 out of her 4 children actually
Mm.
got it. So
Right.
that means that it's in our DNA
And
throughout
right.
throughout generations somewhere, and it was just not diagnosed, or it was misdiagnosed,
Mm.
Yeah.
which it is more often than not.
Yeah.
Right.
It
Right.
sounds like, because if Cheryl was diagnosed at 50 after going through
Right.
all that,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Childbirth, everything, still had the pains,
Yeah.
and I would
Yeah.
go in and, this is hurting, that hurting. They, oh, take a vitamin. Oh, you okay? This and that and the other. Nobody stopped to say, okay, maybe this is something serious, or,
Yeah.
until I got
Yeah.
50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were
And
talking
see,
about
that's what,
fibromyalgia, and a lot of
yeah.
people are putting
Right.
so much on fibromyalgia. They're putting a lot
Yeah.
of things on that, and I really wonder if,
Yeah.
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 you
Yeah.
were saying,
But see,
Nancy, I'm sorry.
that's the biggest problem that it's out there, is that um because they don't know a lot, even in all these
Mm-hmm.
decades afterwards, you have got to be your own best advocate. You have
Mm.
got to
Right.
make sure that you are paying attention to your body, you are journaling what is going on, and if they are not listening, you find someone who will listen to you.
Right. Right.
Because if I had listened to that doctor who told me it was impossible for me to have it, who knows, I may not be sitting here today.
Yeah.
So you
Right.
have got to be
Right.
persistent. And the one thing that they always want to do is throw you on medications.
That's
Well,
it.
medications always have side effects.
Yeah.
Right.
Always, always.
Yeah. You had
And
a
the first thing
treacherous
that they
side effect. You had a
yes, the
treacherous
first
side
thing that they
effect.
want to do is throw you on Plaquenil. And then they want to throw you on steroids, and you're a guinea pig, and your body is doing all of these different things and having all of these reactions. Well, after I had an acute pancreatitis attack, they threw me on methotrexate, which actually caused me to have liver failure.
Oh,
Mm.
God.
I went from my liver being healthy to stage 4, having a cirrhotic liver. And Gloria can attest to this. From 2006 until about 2016, I was sick, in and out, sick, sick, sick. That was the worst that I had been, but that was due to
The liver.
medication. It wasn't my
Okay.
lupus, it was this
Right.
drug that triggered me
Oh,
to
wow.
have liver failure. So we have got to be aware and conscious of what these doctors, they don't know.
Mm-mm.
You
They
know
don't.
what's going on. And
Right.
as I said, it's important for you to journal. It's important for you to sit up and be your own advocate. You know, when something is not going on, I have a 3-day rule. If something is not going on, if it's going on for more than 3 days, I'm calling my doctor. Because you can go, and Cheryl, you can attest to this, you can go from 0 to 100 in a matter of days.
Right away.
And,
Yeah.
and exactly. And then
Yeah.
before you know it, you are,
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of being treated down here, you are way up here,
Right.
and you have to bring all of that back down. So
Back down.
it's important for you to know your body, and don't let
That's true.
anybody else tell you anything different. You
Right.
know, and some of the times you have to tell them.
Mhm.
Right.
And if you
Right.
have a really good doctor, then they'll listen to what it is that you're telling them.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I
have,
think
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's like key to having a really. I have had my doctors for the 13 years that I have been diagnosed, and they're concerned. I mean, I could call them, and like she says, when I have that high, not trying to get to the high, maybe the middle, I can call them and say, hey, look, you guys, this is going on, this and that and the other, and they're ready to hear you. They're ready to listen. And then they, say, okay, well, Cheryl, what do you do? What did you do? And a lot of times, for me, it's something that I've done differently that I didn't do before. Maybe I overworked myself or something like that. And so, but I didn't know what, I know what I did, but I don't want to lay it on that, that kind of thing. But they're ready to listen and hear you out. And that to me is so much more important than to say, oh, you'll be all right.
Right.
Because you get a lot of that. Oh, you're going to be fine. Take this. Like you said, take this medicine, Yeah.
So are your primary care doctors working with the lupus doctors, or are you finding those relationships are working well? Or do you just give up on your primary care and go to the lupus doctor?
Well, for me, I have a primary care doctor on the base. And so, but my doctor, my kidney doctor and my lupus doctor, whenever I see them, they text or they type and send it to him immediately.
Okay.
And then and vice versa. He'll send it to her immediately. And so they communicate. And sometimes I've had all three said, okay, this is what she's going through right now. What can we do? And then they'll call me and let me know. So
Okay.
Okay.
And the same here. My doctors are all actually, one referred me to the other, which referred me to the other. So they're all in the same network. So I usually try and see them all within a couple of weeks period of time, so that whatever labs I need to have done, there's a standing order for me to go in and do them, every 4 months or whatever, and then make the rounds with them every few months. And the one thing I will say, that if you have a good relationship with your doctor, they know you, and they know when something is going on. Like my doctors, they know that if I call them, I'm calling them because something is going on. Otherwise, I don't want to see them, to be totally honest. And because in my 20s was probably until I got to be, I don't know, maybe in my mid 30s, that first decade that I had it was really hard for my body because it was such a big adjustment. And, what I would say to anyone who is newly diagnosed is that you have got to pray a lot. I'm telling you, I walked around for 2 weeks crying and praying and thinking that I was going to die, because for two reasons. One is I had previously saw how sick my sister had gotten. My sister had the very first thing that happened to her was she had a heart attack. She was 23 years old that was brought on by lupus.
Wow.
I saw her the day before, and just like I'm looking at you guys, she was fine. The next day I see her, she is bloated and tubes are coming out of everywhere. So it took her a long time to be diagnosed. And, unbeknownst to us, we had no idea. Nobody had ever heard of this. And so she had to be transferred to 3 different hospitals before she even got a diagnosis. And so for me, that always kind of stayed with me as well. So once I started having some of the same issues with swelling and just really aching and just started to have some issues, that's when I started to go in. And as I said, they told me that it was impossible, but you just got to pay attention to what is going on, and be persistent and just accept it. And that does not mean that it's a death sentence. And I say, Terry is my angel and she continues to keep me pushing. You couldn't have told me that once I was diagnosed in my early 20s that I would still be here more than 3 decades later. So because you think of it as a death sentence, what I will tell you is accept it, mourn it, because you're going to have to mourn whatever life that you had, because this disease is going to alter your life for the rest of your life. So you have got to make sure that you understand that. And that takes a lot, because when you're in your 20s, that's 20 stupids. That whole decade, you think you're invincible and you just, you just think that nothing can happen to you. So you are then diagnosed, which is what is perceived as a death sentence. Well, it's not. You can live a long, healthy life as long as you take care of yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Y'all are living witnesses.
Amen
And
to that.
one of the things that I feel that, for me, I have the best team. I'm telling you, starting with my husband and all my girlfriends, you know, uh, they don't usually let me go down in the dirt. They'll be like, all right, sure, what's going on? Get up, glory, glow no. It's just I feel that that's very important
Oh yeah.
because when you have them rooting you on, you
Right.
can do it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that you can get through it. And like she said, that when I first got diagnosed, the pain was
Yeah.
so bad that, like she said, crying didn't help.
Mm.
You could just crying. You just
Uh-huh.
crying. But
Yeah.
praise God that that was just a phase, as
Yeah.
I could see my way out of that.
Yeah.
But not to
Absolutely.
say that it may not come back. You can always tell when it's coming back,
Yep.
and that's
Absolutely.
when, you need to rest
Yeah.
and get your mind, talk to God,
Right.
get your mind
Right. Yeah.
regulated, do some
Yeah.
meditate, whatever it takes. And then,
Absolutely.
and then, it help you for that moment
Right.
because you never know when it's going to flare. You know,
Exactly. And
you
I
never know.
remember when I first met you, Cheryl,
Yes,
I was
I
on a
was.
visit with
Woo,
Gloria when she was at Corpus.
I
And
was hurting,
Gloria
girl.
she said
When
to
I
me, she
met
said,
you, Nancy,
Nancy,
I was
I got
hurting. You hear
somebody
me?
that you need to meet.
I know. I was so happy. She goes, Nancy's coming to town. I said, when? I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. That was my highlight. I was like Santa Claus coming to town. Nancy's coming to town? When she's coming? So yeah, it was a blessing. And we had a blessed, the
Yes.
whole
Yes.
evening was blessed,
Exactly.
So
And
it's
I'm
really good to
always,
be around positive people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Really is.
I always tell people I bleed purple. So any purple sister
Ah,
that I have, that's our color. I'm praying
yeah,
for you and I'm fighting with
I
you.
know that's right. I know that's right.
Well, I heard somebody was you both. I think both of y'all talked earlier about men having lupus. Have you known many men to have lupus? I think Cheryl,
Yes,
you told me the first person you ever
yeah, my
heard.
girlfriend Sherry, I don't know if she's on tonight, but she has a brother. That was the first time I ever heard about it. And she said he's not feeling well. She would say that. And he was younger than me. He's younger than I was at that time. And she said he's not feeling well. He has to rest or he's in pain. I got to go and see about Randy. But Randy's story turned out to be so awesome. He got a kidney transplant. He has lupus
Mm,
no more. He doesn't deal with the
mm,
lupus pain or anything. He calls, he encourages me.
Mm.
He texted me, hey sis, and just a light.
Oh,
And so, because he knows what you go through,
oh
you
yeah.
know.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sherry was just letting him know that I'm in this stage where he was once there. He got
Mm.
very, very sick. And then he
Hmm.
got a kidney transplant, and now he's doing just so well.
Praise
Right.
God.
Right.
Yeah,
Praise God.
so well.
Nancy, have you known any men that had it, or you've just seen it
No,
in your? Okay.
no, I do not know any male specifically. No, no, I
Hmm.
just know, me. I was support group leader for
Yeah.
many years, so and it's just in the research that I know that men actually do get it, and and other than Seal, the only other entertainer that I know is Nick Cannon. He was diagnosed with
Right.
it as
And then
well.
you have
So,
Tony Braxton. She
yeah,
gets
Oh,
Tony Braxton. Yeah,
Tony
yeah.
Braxton.
I didn't
Hmm.
realize. And I
And
didn't
she
realize
deals with,
that's what happened with Seal. I didn't realize that's what happened with this.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
yes, and Tony, she deals with it with her heart.
Yes,
Mhm.
with
The
her heart. Yeah.
attack in the heart
Hmm.
area.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so interesting to me how it's unique with each person. It's
It
not like
is.
Right.
it attacks
Oh yeah.
one thing. And that would be interested to understand why in this person attacks one thing, and then in this person attacks another thing.
Yeah.
What makes that happen like that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is an individualized disease, and
Right.
it just depends on how it's brewing that day, and it can attack anything and everything
Anything.
at any
Right.
time. And
That's
Mm.
right.
so that's why it's important. As I said, like with my sister, it first started out with her heart, And then she kept pneumonia all the time. So it stayed in her lungs all the time. And then it infected her blood and kidneys. And it just totally depleted all the organs in her body. And my sister died from a cold. She could not, she had nothing left to fight a cold, and she caught a cold. She went to work Thursday, didn't go to work Friday, and she was dead Saturday afternoon, a little bit after 1. That's how quick it happened.
And that's another thing, you know, your immune system is down all the time. You know, you could, you know, that we wearing the mask now, you know, but really anywhere you go or wherever, you never know you're gonna pick up this cold or you're gonna pick up, you know, you just because it's down all the time.
So the mask is probably a good thing for y'all.
Oh, it's a great thing. Yeah.
But that's the reason why you have to always be proactive about you have got to be as I said, gladiator, you've got to always be in prep mode constantly, because you just never know when or what can take you out at any given time. You just have no clue. So it's really vital that we make sure that when you are diagnosed with something, pay attention. You know, learn everything that you can, jot down. Journaling is the greatest way, because you can always go back and see if something starts to happen and reoccur, and you will get so in tune with your body that you will know when something is not right. And then you will be able to articulate that to your doctors, which is so important, because a lot of times we know that as African Americans, that some of the times you go into doctor's offices or you go into hospitals and they just look at you like you have no idea what you're talking about. They're the doctors, they're supposed to know. Well, I know what I'm talking about because I've lived with this disease all of my life now. So I can go in and I can tell them, okay, I need for you to do a C3, C4, amylase, lipase. I know exactly what to tell them. And you know, and then they look at you differently though then. When you know what it is that you're talking about and they know that you know, you get treated differently. So that if I would say anything, that is the most important thing. Understand and know that this disease is not going away. So you may as well marry it, because you're going to be stuck with it for the rest of your life. Get to know it as intimately as possible and understand what your triggers are. And when you get so in tune with it, you will know it before you go from that 0 to 100. You may be able to stop it at 20 or at 30, as opposed to it getting way up and escalating to 100, when they are going to throw you on mass amount of drugs that are going to always have side effects.
Well, if anyone listening has a question, you can put it in the comments and I'll ask them. Let's see. First Lady Denise says she's so proud of you, Cheryl Gaffigan. And one of our other viewers, Latanya, I think she worked with me at Dark, said this is some wonderful information. And I do have these ladies' email addresses, if they don't care if I share them with you, so that if you do have questions later on, you can ask them. But I just think I've been knowing y'all for a while, and I learned a few things myself tonight. You know, I just have to stay, I have to stay wise. I ain't getting it or nothing, but I'm gonna just stay wise. Because if I meet anybody that has it, I send them to y'all. I don't know. They gotta go there. I don't know. But
I tell you, knowing Nancy, I tell you, when I met Nancy, of course, I was green. And I didn't really pay too much attention. I just knew I was hurting. That's all I know. I have lupus and I'm hurting. And then Nancy, she gently talked to me and shared her knowledge. I was like, oh my God, And I knew then it was something that I had to deal with. Because I was thinking in my mind, it's gonna go away. It's gonna go away. I'm gonna live my life, But oh my God.
And I think that is one of the biggest misconception is once you start to feel better, you think it's kind of gone. and it
Yeah,
ain't
you
going
messed
nowhere.
up,
It's
you
just
know?
brewing in the
Yeah.
background to come back and attack you again.
And then attack harder. And you're like, whoa,
Yeah,
wait a minute. You
yeah,
know, this is not even like what I had the last time. You
exactly,
know.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It
yeah.
comes back hard. It can come back
Yeah,
harder.
yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah,
God.
absolutely.
So you for
Yeah,
real. Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
Wow.
And
Oh
that's
wow.
why you have to always be in the mindset of prep mode. As I said, you're always
Yes.
preparing for the next flare. Because it's
Right.
coming. It doesn't, it could be 3 months, 6 months, it could be 10 years. It is still going to come.
That's
So
right.
the stronger you are, mind, body, and
That's
spirit,
it.
because I'm gonna tell you, if God, I at the end of my 2 weeks of crying and mourning it, I said, turn it over to God and say, I can't do this. I
That's right.
cannot do this. I need you to
Mm.
Yeah.
carry this. And he
Mm.
said, I got you. And I got up. And, ever since then, I have never walked this journey alone. And if I would say anything, it has been a blessing, I think, for me to have gotten it when I did, because I have come into knowing so many people and being able
Mhm.
to actually help to
Help.
advocate for so many
That's right.
people who walk this journey who have no clue, because I've been there and I've done that. And not that I've come out on the other side, I'm still in the
Right.
trenches, but when I was diagnosed, the only person that I knew who had it was my sister, and my sister
Mm.
died. And then, so for a very long time, I wouldn't open myself up to anybody, because again, you have that mindset, it's going to be you next. But then,
Mm.
a few years later, I met Gloria, and then Gloria, introduced me to you, and then my niece has it. So, I have come into the knowledge of so many others. And
Mm-hmm.
guess what? That is now my purpose. God
Mm.
Amen.
has sustained me for this 3 decades plus, because it is my purpose to help others along this journey. Like you, Cheryl,
Yeah.
I enjoyed our time
Yeah.
too, because it's
I
it's
tell
one
you.
of those things where you feel this instant bond, because we both kind of,
Right.
I
Had the
won't look
same
at you
thing.
crazy because you tell me something is
Exactly.
going on,
Exactly.
where others would,
Exactly.
because I know I've been there and I've done that.
And that's the
So
thing. When you talk to people and you say, well, I'm hurting here, they're like, well, what do you have? And even if you
yeah,
said lupus, they wouldn't understand that as well.
yeah,
And one of the
yeah.
other things too, it does weaken your body. I know for myself, I had an infection in the stomach, and they
Mm-hmm.
gave me some antibiotics. And where antibiotics normally for everybody else, it just cures it. For me, it tore it down. I ended up in intensive care with C. diff,
Mm.
Uh,
and I was in there for a couple of weeks or so, and then I came home, and then I got it again because I'm still,
Yeah.
my immune system is not strong enough to fight these
Always
things.
compromised.
Always compromised,
Always. Yeah.
and believe it or not, we have this pandemic, but
mhm.
January 1st, I was in the hospital. So,
Mm.
Mm.
it's just this whole year and now I'm
Yeah.
on dialysis, but at
Mhm.
the end of the day, I still feel well. I like Nancy said, I know my triggers.
Yeah.
I kick back, not often, but I do kick back when I need to,
Yeah.
and just move on, because you
Yeah.
cannot stay stagnated.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
you do, nobody want to hear a whining baby all day
Nope.
long. So you have to dust your feet and move
Yeah,
on.
Mm.
that's not. The
Yeah.
more I read, the negativism and the whining and all of that
Yeah.
is not good for your physical
No,
body. You
mm-mm.
know,
You can't stay
No.
there.
so
You can't
you
stay
just
there.
No.
it's not good at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And
No.
But
there's research that proves it, et cetera. So the more you can come up, like you say, face what you have, deal with
yeah.
it, but you have
Yeah.
to come out of that a pity party or whatever you want to
Right.
call it,
Right.
because that's not good for your body at
Yeah.
Yeah.
all. Yeah,
No.
you have to be
But
around
but
people
that
to
goes.
uplift you with you. Yeah.
Yeah, that goes back to what I said about you've got to go through that
My phone.
grieving process, and you've got to mourn your previous
Yeah.
life, and
Right.
deal with however long it takes you to get to that acceptance piece of what is going on now. That's where you have to find yourself. And it's hard, as I said, when you're 20 something and you
Yeah.
hear that you have this disease that, first of all, they don't know much about. Second, there is no cure for it. And then the third thing is that they can only treat it when you get sick. They can't do anything for it. So that's a lot for you to wrestle with.
Yeah.
But you have to. You've got to get to where, and we're all different. We're all different. So for me, it took me 2 weeks of crying and praying. I mean, seriously crying and praying. I wept like I was going to die that day. And, you know, because I had seen what my sister went through. And as I said, I didn't see other people around me who had it. And so that was a hard pill to swallow. So it's easier said than done to tell somebody, oh, well, you just got to get over it. Right. No, you can't just got to get over it. You got to go through those stages where you accept that your life has now been altered, and then find the wherewithal within yourself to find God and figure out what the purpose of you having this is.
Right.
Because there's always a purpose. We're like Paul with the thorn in our side. This is my thorn, you know. It is what it is. It is what it is. You know what? I'm gonna fight it. I told Gloria, this is my first time that you'll hear my voice because I had been down for 3 weeks. This is the first time I've been out of my room. I had a minor flare and I was on prednisone. That knocks me out with the flu. Like flu-like symptoms. I can't do anything but sleep, but about 16 hours a day. I can't move. I'm in so much pain then. But I said, God, you got this. I'm not worried about that. Because the Satan was trying to tell me, okay, you're not going to be there Monday night. I said, no, you a lie. I'm going to be right here. I'm going to be talking to some folks. So God is going to work this thing out.
That's right.
And so I truly believe that your faith is what, at least that for me, and I can only speak for Nancy, that is what has sustained me and given me the strength and the courage to fight.
Right.
Because
I agree with you, Nancy. I agree with you. If you don't have a relationship with Christ Jesus, then I don't think you could get through this. You know, I always say, and I talk to God like I'm talking to you guys, and I always say, this body don't belong to me. It belongs to you. So whatever you're gonna have me go through, let's do this thing. You know, let me get on the horse and ride it through, you know, because I mean, there has been some crazy moments in my life that I never thought me go through, you know, like Nancy said, you know, and then, you know, God said, why not you? You're an example, you know.
Exactly.
And so, you know, I know when you, Gloria and my girlfriends, and they see us and we're like, oh God, y'all got lupus for real, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, man, but you don't know. You know, without God, like, shh. Couldn't be sitting here talking to you right now, I don't think, you know.
And that's the God in you. That is his light and his grace on your life is that for me, it's like, you know, like he says when you're fasting, if you fasting and you all dying out and you showing it so that everybody can see it, you're not giving him glory. I like the fact that people can look at me and they say, you got what? You know? And I always tell Gloria, I'm God's walking miracle, because that's what I feel like, because I don't look sick. But this disease has ravaged my body for more than 3 decades. So you know what? Thank you, Lord. That
give it all to him.
To get up and move.
Right.
Okay. I have one question. It says, because y'all were talking about when you feel everything is okay sometime, but the question is, how do you keep in touch, or how do you feel people should keep in touch with their primary care and specialty doctor, in that sometimes the pain go away and you feel like everything is wrong? Do you have a periodic checkups or whatever every 6 months or something that you have to do?
Yeah. For me, I go every 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I go to all my doctors every 3 months.
Okay.
For me, it depends on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cheryl.
No, I'm just going to say that. Yes, for every 3 months, but unless I get sick, and it's so painful, then I need to call somebody, you know, and say, hey, look, I can't bear this, you know. But other than that, while things are going well right now, I'm every 3 months.
Okay.
And for me, it's every 4 to 6 months. But as Cheryl said, it depends on whether or not something is going on, one.
Mhm.
And then two, I have my labs done every 3 months. My
Okay.
labs are done every 3 months. And so that if
Yeah.
there is something that is going
Right.
on, they'll catch it. But, a lot of times your labs, you can feel something that is going on before the labs even catch up with what's
Right.
going on. And that's
Mhm.
where you have to be in tune with your body. That's why I say journaling this disease. And it is such a great thing for you, because a lot of times, even when you're in those valley moments, say like when you're in the midst of a flare, you can go
Mhm.
back and reflect on your journal, and that'll give you encouragement and give you
Right.
strength
Yeah.
to continue to move on.
Right.
So
Mhm.
I always say, make sure you're journaling your progress, because you don't know how important this is for you, how important it is for your family, how important it is when you encounter other people who
Right.
have the same thing that you're battling. So it's your
Right.
story. So why not write it down?
That's it. Mhm.
Well, Nancy, Latanya is going to be giving you she wanted your email. She needs a one-on-one session. So she's going to be emailing you. She's a cool young lady. She used to work with me at Dart.
Sure.
So she's going to be emailing you. And I
She's
just
the
want,
best teacher. She's the best teacher.
and this is the Lupus organization. If anyone wants to go to the website, and then the Lupus Foundation organization of America is also there. So it has lots of information, lots of ways for you to get involved, et cetera. And I just want to thank y'all for saying yes to come out. This will remain on the page. It's TTT Y'all on Facebook, and it is on my YouTube page. If you want to refer anybody back to, to look at it, it was chock full of information, and I just love y'all for hanging out with me. And
but wait a minute, I got something that I want to say. You didn't
okay.
promote my work organization, the women's
I'm
organization
sorry.
that I'm
Okay.
working for.
Okay, special announcement by Nancy. You told me I could have put something in the comments. Okay.
It's thewordcircle.org, and we are a 501c3 non-for-profit women's organization, actually helping women to discover their worth. So we will be, hopefully, I told Gloria we're going to come back so we can talk about it. Me and Dr. Janice Williams, she is the founder of it's called thewordcircle.org, and
the word WORD
WORTE. Women owning results, transcending history.
Circle. I'm trying to put it in wordcircle.com. Is the website up already?
.org.
The website up?
No.
Oh, okay. So I'm not going to put it
in. Relaunching.
Okay.
So yes, it's the wordcircle.org. Women owning results, transcending history. And so Dr. Janice and I will come back and talk to you guys again once we relaunch.
Okay. Yay. Sounds good. Okay.
Sounds good.
Next week, we are going to have another friend, and this one is good. Dale Long. He's the church bombing in Alabama. He was friends with the young ladies there.
Oh, wow.
And so he's going to come and tell his story and talk to us about that. And then we'll also have some stuff on census. And so please, next Monday night, 8 p.m. Central, for those of you in Maryland, Georgia, and Illinois. Illinois is on Central, so we don't have to worry about them. But in Maryland and Georgia, 8 p.m. Central, which is an hour, we're an hour ahead of y'all, behind y'all. I don't know, look it up. Anywho, we have to pray out. Who want to pray us out? Okay, I will. Go ahead. Who said that? Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay. Did you say you wanted to?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Father God, we come to you just to say thank you for this opportunity, bringing us ladies together one by one. You did it by yourself. You had us meet in your house, your church house, and now we're here on this Facebook, YouTube, and we're just saying thank you for everything that you've done, God. Thank you for using Gloria so that we can get the message out about lupus and any other subjects that she has coming on Monday night. God, we thank you for Nancy and all the knowledge that you have imported into her mind, her body, and her soul. God, keep her well so that she can continue to share the word about lupus and to share the word about God. Thank you for everything, God. We just love you. We glorify you. We edify your holy and righteous name. This is my prayer in your precious son's name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. I'm going to end the broadcast. If you ladies would stay on, I would appreciate it. Everybody, thank you for coming. I love y'all.
We love you too.
Okay, let me get this. It ain't working. Okay, in bracket.